In today's video, we are going to be talking about the Age of Sigmar 4th edition starter sets. These ones include the introductory set, the starter set, and the ultimate starter set. We're going to talk about the price, we are going to talk about the boxes and what my thoughts about them are, and we are going to criticize them a little bit and give GW some ideas for improvement, because there's certainly ways that GW could make these boxes a little bit more appealing, a little bit more interesting, and especially the introductory set for absolute beginners could be a little bit more beginner friendly. With that, let's get into the video. So before we start, the link for this particular article and everything about the starter sets from GW directly is going to be down in the pinned comment below. I'm also going to make a lot more Age of Sigmar videos coming in the next few days and weeks, especially for Spearhead and so on. So consider subscribing, leaving a thumbs up and all that good stuff if you're interested for more. And with that, let's talk about the starter sets and the Warhammer community article. So as you know, Scaventide has released and it's still on shelves and so on. People have been labeling it a failure and so on. Let me talk about it a little bit. Small tangent at the beginning. And people have been calling it a failure and so on because it's still on shelves. That's absolutely stupid. I understand that a lot of GW products are severely underprinted. GW hates shelf space and hates kind of storing boxes. I kind of understand that. Having, produced a couple of books and so on and having to store them is quite expensive. So yeah, they kind of just want to produce things and immediately get rid of them. I understand that. The thing with Scaventide and with Leviathan and all these starter boxes, it's way better when they are on shelves at least for a week or 2 or 3. That makes it way more kind of achievable for people to maybe wait for their next paycheck, make sure that they are actually kind of in tune with the box and that they want to actually buy it, whether they are interested in them, to first check out the rules of the factions included and all that good stuff. Just because these boxes didn't immediately sell out does not mean they are a failure. I obviously don't have any numbers or anything on that, but I highly doubt that GW is going to make a minus on Scaventide if that's what you're hoping or thinking. So that's just something I wanted to throw out there. I'm kind of interested what my particular community thinks about the entire Scaventide thing, especially if you're into Age of Sigmar. Just because there are some boxes I personally wouldn't consider it a failure, but maybe you think differently. If you do, drop it down in the comments below. I would be definitely interested to hear about that. But with that, let's talk about the starter set. So we have 3 starter sets. Everything is laid out exactly as it was for Warhammer 40k. They're getting an introductory set with a few miniatures and paints and a bad brush and some dice. Then you're getting the regular starter set, which is technically everything you need for Spearhead, except both sides are missing a single model or a single unit that you can then buy hopefully separately at some point and, upgrade them to Spearheads. And then you have the ultimate starter set, which is the most expensive one, and that one includes the full Spearheads as well as a little bit of terrain. So the setup here, generally speaking, is not bad at all. If you are completely new, you are buying the introductory set. If you have a few Warhammer miniatures and you already have paint and so on, you could consider buying the starter set, although I always find these starter sets that are almost Spearheads a little bit obscure in my opinion, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit. And then you have the ultimate starter sets for people who really want to get in there, pay a little bit more, and get everything that is kind of necessary to immediately start playing a full game of Spearhead in Age of Sigmar. So now that we summarize them, let's go over them one by one. First up is the introductory set. Here you are getting 6 paints, 1 brush. As far as I know, they never really improved that brush. It's still the basic brush that you're getting with every starter set, with every kind of bigger paint set that GW is selling. And I don't think that they are any better. If you've made any experiences with the basic brushes you get in those, Warhammer 40k or Age of Sigmar sets, and if GW actually improved them, let me know. That would be kind of good information to have. But as far as I can tell, it's the exact same brushes I bought 10 years ago or 5 years ago with my starter sets. And yeah, they are not much better than they were before. Then you're getting some basic dice. They are, as you can see, opaque white dice with black dots. It's nothing to write home about. They're as basic as it gets. And then you're obviously getting a few miniatures as well. You're getting 5 Liberators and 20 Clan Rats. What is interesting about this in particular is that GW calls these push-fit miniatures on a push-off frame. Push-off kind of implies that these frames are similar to those cardboard cutouts where you just punch those tokens out, right? And you can do it without having clippers. If GW is actually going that route and making it easier and easier for new players to not require any additional tools at all, that's excellent. Because even though clippers are not very expensive and you are definitely not asking too much of your customers to get out there and buy some, they can buy some at Warhammer stores, at LGSs, everywhere basically. it is still nice for them to be able to just buy an introductory set and be able to do everything from the get-go. So push fit means you don't need any glue. Push off frame basically means they don't need any clippers. And the only thing that is really missing here is a brush on primer. It is really the only thing that would make this entire thing a little bit more cohesive and nicer, because while GW cannot just include rattle cans in these boxes, that would make things a lot more complicated for them, especially as far as shipping goes and so on, because hazardous materials and so on. A brush on primer is definitely something that they could create. I know that GW in the past had problems with brush on primers and so on, but you know, we are in 2024. I'm sure they can figure out some way to create a brush on primer that just works okay. It doesn't need to be anything fancy, anything special, just a little bit better than a basic base paint over bare plastic. That would have been really nice, because at that point you don't need anything except for this particular box. If it had a brush on primer, it would be a perfect beginner box. And especially, you're probably going to be able to buy it for the same price as the Warhammer 40k introductory set. So if you buy it at a discount of approximately 20%, you're getting something that is cheaper than £40. And I think that is very important to have in the entire Warhammer space, to have introductory products that are cheap enough for people to just say, you know what, I'm going to give it a try, I'm going to paint it a little bit and decide whether I like it or not. And this box could have it all, but the only thing I have really to criticize about this one is that it's lacking a brush on primer. Next up, we have the regular starter set. This starter set includes a few more miniatures. Specifically, you're getting the 5 Liberators from the previous set, but you're also getting a Lord Veritin together with their Gryph-hound, and you are getting 3 Prosecutors. And the Skaven side is getting 3 Red Ogres, a Grey Seer, and a Warlock Engineer. So you're getting additional models, as I said, and you're almost there when it comes to having the spearheads. All you're technically missing are the 2 mounted heroes, so a Lord Vigilant and a Claw Lord, and that's basically it. And I'm fairly certain they came on their own separate sprues, and they are going to be sold separately down the line, hopefully sooner rather than later. So if you've been deciding on which starter set to buy, and if you've decided on this particular starter set, on a basic one, you can then upgrade them to full spearheads. Other than that, you still get the spearhead mat, which is kind of helpful because the terrain, while it's cool to have from the Ultimate starter set, it is not technically necessary. You can use any 2 bigger terrain pieces and any 2 smaller terrain pieces, and it's going to be enough. You can use deck boxes, whatever you have lying around. So this box, I still think it's a little bit weird. You're still getting a softcover handbook. I still think that you're going to get some basic missions that you can play with these particular models that you have in the starter set. So there are hopefully going to be some missions for this particular setup and loadout for both armies, because otherwise it's going to be kind of difficult to play them one against each other. And then, you know, down the line, if you like what you have and if you want to kind of invest more time into Age of Sigmar, you can upgrade this. As far as criticisms for this go, I still think they should have just included the 2 heroes and not made them kind of separate purchases. I get that they are going to make more money off of separate purchases and so on, but this box just feels incomplete and awkward. What this box is going to do, though, is it's going to have a great price point, namely the same one that probably the 40k starter set has as well. And it is going to enable a lot of people to buy Red Ogres and Prosecutors and, you know, Clan Reds and all of these models that are included in this particular box for relatively cheap, because you can just split this box with a friend who maybe has Stormcast Eternals but doesn't have the Skaven type box or anything, but maybe wants to have these few models to just upgrade their forces, and vice versa for the Skaven. So this box is more or less going to be a split box. You're going to split it with someone, you're going to upgrade your existing forces with this one, and that's how I see this one. This one is not a complete box. This is more of an upgrade box if I had to classify it. So my personal opinion is they should have included both full spearheads and made the terrain in the Ultimate starter set a little bit more exciting for the increased price, but we're going to get to that next. So the Ultimate starter set is going to look spicy, and the reason why the terrain is maybe looking a little bit boring, because it's just the same 4 pieces that you get in Skaventide, is because you're also getting the Fire and Jade book. There's nothing equivalent in 40k, and that means that you're not getting another full hardcover book in the 40k Ultimate starter set, but instead you get a little bit more terrain. That's basically it. And you are getting 2 combat patrols, and here you are getting 2 spearheads in the Age of Sigmar Ultimate starter set. So you're having a little bit of a trade-off. Less exciting terrain, but instead you have a hardcover Fire and Jade book, which has a lot of value if you didn't buy the Skaven type box, or if you don't see yourself buying the Skaven type box, because the Fire and Jade book is excellent. It's super good. You have all the rules you need for just regular basic Age of Sigmar and all the rule kits that you need for Spearhead, and you have all the Spearhead lists included in that book. Now, obviously, down the line, it's going to be outdated simply because GW is going to come and release more Spearheads. Those are obviously not going to be included in a book that's already printed. But as it stands now, the Fire and Jade book is absolutely really good, and I highly recommend you buy it off of eBay and so on if you are interested in Spearhead, but you didn't buy Skaventide because you're not interested in the factions and so on. It's a really, really good book. And if you want to play Spearhead, it is really helpful to have it in physical form. Now, you don't need it. All the Spearhead rules are in their different faction kits that GW uploaded for free over on the Warhammer community website. And you can get all the basic rules for free on the Warhammer community website as well. So you don't technically need it, but having a book in your hand that is well made and, you know, includes everything nicely is definitely a great bonus to have. And with that, you're also getting the cards necessary to play Spearhead and so on. This particular kit, I think, feels more complete. It feels like it has purpose. You can assemble everything that is included in here and immediately start playing Spearhead, and that's that. Now, putting this box next to Skaventide, which is probably going to only be a little bit more expensive. I think this one is going to cost about 130 pounds, meanwhile Skaventide costs 160 pounds. So, you know, as long as Skaventide is still available, it's just the better box. Just flat out. You are getting a ton more interesting miniatures. You're getting Giselles, you're getting 5 additional Liberators, and a lot more. And you're getting the full hardcover core rulebook. And you're getting also, you know, the cards for the General's Handbook and so on. You're getting a ton more value for those 30 pounds. So as long as Skaventide is still around, which I assume is going to be for the next few weeks, it is just going to be the better box. The Ultimate Starter Set is just there to pick up for the next kind of 3 years once Skaventide is gone. And there are new players coming into the game a year from now, and they are looking for a good place to start. The Ultimate Starter Set is going to be there. It's not a limited print run, and people are going to be able to pick this one up, ideally at a 20% discount from a local LGS, and they are going to have a ton of fun with it, because at that point it's going to be worth it. Skaventide is going to be extremely rare and expensive as a full box, and that's going to be that. So I have no real criticism as far as the Ultimate Starter Set goes, because it feels like a full experience. And the last thing I wanted to mention about the Ultimate Starter Set that I think every starter set should include is the reference sheets that they've just made for the Skaven and for the Stormcast in specific, where they talk a little bit about the background of these factions, hobby stuff about these factions, how to possibly paint them. They give you tips on how to build armies around them and all that good stuff. And I think this should exist for, technically speaking, every army, just a little primer, a few pages that is going to tell you basically everything you need to know about a specific army. Those can get people fixed on a certain army, and that could be really fun. And those reference sheets, I think, a great thing to have. So those should have been there for every starter set, introductory, regular, ultimate. And they are an excellent way to get people interested into an army with just a few pages summarizing everything and getting people interested in those factions. And with that, what are your opinions on these starter sets? Are you going to recommend them to friends once Skaventide is out of stock? What do you think about push-off frames where you don't technically need to have clippers or any additional tools? All you're basically missing is a primer to get started with the introductory starter set. And generally, what do you think about the different tiers of starter sets in general? The introductory set, I think, has its place. What do you think about the regular starter set? So the middle of the pack, the basic one that is not really full spearheads, doesn't have any terrain, but seems like a cool box to split with a friend just to upgrade armies. And what do you think about the ultimate starter set with basically everything that Skaventide has, but you know, you're missing models and you're missing the full hardcover rulebook? If you have any other kind of suggestions, if you want to see specific spearhead reviews, if you want to see any kind of other AOS content, definitely drop it down in the comments below as well. Check out the links down in the description below if you want to join us over on Discord for discussions, if you want to share your painted models, or if you want to support me via Ko-Fi or Patreon to keep this channel running. With that, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was insightful, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care.